Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the second or third season of Esoteric Agenda. I'm Roger Hanson. Today, I'm your host. Today, we have with us, which, by the way, this is my actual first live stream for Esoteric Agenda. It's always been just me on my own, but today I'm doing a live stream and recording with my guests. First, we have Otto Excelsior, and after that, we have Mark Edworthy, as well as V. Now, V has a real name, but we will just call him V because of his anonymity. Now, we also have Mr. Robot here with us, but he is apparently asleep, I believe, because he hasn't said nothing for like an
He
hour
hasn't
now.
said anything.
Nothing.
Not
So
for class.
he is here on the stream, so hopefully he comes in and we can hear a little bit from him. So welcome you. I want to welcome you guys to the show and say thank you for being on the show with me tonight. And with that being said, I'm gonna get on with what the topic is going to be about. The first episode of Esoteric Agenda this year is going to be about the Book of Soiga. And before I go on any further, I'd just like to ask Otto, have you ever heard of the Book of Soiga before?
Yeah, the Book of Soiga is something that was it was part of John Dee's magical library. And to tell you the truth, I'm not super familiar with it. I never got much into the goetic kind of magic, but I know it's been very influential in a lot of ways. Certainly, it was influential on John Dee, and Dee was very influential on a lot of later occultists. I've always felt that Aleister Crowley took a lot more from John Dee than a lot of people realize, including his magical name, Perdurabo, which I first came across in Dee's wonderful relation, the book of his spirit communications.
Isn't John Dee? Is he the lawyer that was fighting for the witches in the Salem witch trials?
Well, no, he was a court astrologer to Elizabeth I.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, he
Okay,
prognosticated the day to have her coronation and everything, make a lucky day for it and everything.
okay, yeah.
He was also a secret agent for Elizabethan intelligence services. His code number was
course.
007, interestingly enough.
Oh, the thing. So sorry, I know I'm jumping the gun here, but when I tell people that the Catholic Church used intelligence, it's not just the Jesuits; it's that confessional booth. They had a lot of these priests were just agents of whoever's in power at the time who had influence with a certain church.
Well, that goes back to the ancient Greeks, I think. If you read, you would go to the temple to get an oracle because they had all these oracle centers. And before you got there, the priests in your town would know what your questions were because you'd ask them and say, well, go to the oracle. And then they would write a little message on a carrier pigeon because all these temples had pigeons. They all had sacred birds. Nobody ever messed with the birds. They didn't realize that. So by the time they got to the next oracle, oh, yes, the god said that you were going to ask about that. How did you know? It's, a spirit flew through the air and brought the information. It's kind of interesting. Yeah. So that goes way back. The religion business is, you got to have a lot of good prestidigitation to have a successful religion.
Yeah. And so, Roger, I apologize. Continue.
You guys did fine. Like I said, I usually don't open this up, so having people on Esoteric Agenda is actually a pretty big deal. So I'm glad that you guys are in here and you're having a conversation.
Good to get some sort of a summary of the background.
Right, and plus, I mean, I've been doing this show by myself, narrating, and after a while, it just really sucks. So hearing other people talk about these topics is really refreshing. You know what I mean? Because I know last year me and me and Bob Dub and Otto, we did a series on uh, the Bacon conspiracy, Shakespeare conspiracy with Roger Bacon, Francis Bacon.
Francis Bacon, yeah.
And I enjoyed that quite a bit, because not too many people have that conversation, and this is kind of where a lot of the esoterics is coming into play, So I really do enjoy hearing other people's thoughts and everything about it. So the book of Soiga, like you guys said, it was a book of from John D. The weird part about this book, though, is like, and a lot of people, they get the story behind it mixed up. Like, yes, during that time period, it was considered dark and evil, but it wasn't really because of what was in the book. Like, it didn't have any kind of incantations that summon dark evil spirits or anything like that.
Well, the only thing I know about John D is that he is a dermatologist. As the first time I come across him, and dermatology is nothing but the study of magic, so it would actually really fit. I never got the chance to go back into what he was about specifically. However, he was a reference step in research about Merlin. So yeah, so that's why I don't know too much about him. But I'm so glad it's brought up. I'm really piqued right now.
Bringing up thaumaturgy is interesting because Dee was a thaumaturgist or a thaumaturgist. He was engaging in what we consider to be angelic or godlike magic. And Roger and I were talking about this a little earlier about a lot of these occultists back then. They assumed that you were going to be spiritually prepared before you would undertake any of this. So if you read like when Dee's conjurations when he was on the continent, and there's a couple of interpretations about what was going on there, but Dee is very famous for having contacted all these spirits with the help of a guy named Sir Edward Kelly, who would look at a scrying stone or a shoe stone. Dee himself was not a medium. He used children for a while, but then he found this Edward Kelly guy seemed to work out really well. And there's arguments about how much Kelly was, he might have been taking advantage of Dee. Maybe he was genuine. Maybe it was a mixture of both. But when he was traveling in Europe is when he had most of these encounters with spirits. But he was always praying. It was always in the name of God. He was a very religious guy, and this was seen as a very important part to keep his magic from slipping into black magic, which of course was actionable, and you could be, executed for that.
It kind of like the view of a paladin,
Yeah.
in D&D terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but he was definitely white light, or at least he saw himself that way.
Now, I've also, because of this book, that's why I'm really kind of doubting on if he was actually, if what it was contacting angels. I from the content that's in this book, I would almost believe that it was drawn off of old Phoenician beliefs.
Well, so that's the entire. It's okay. If you want to think in terms of magics, then you got to think of realms. So each realm has its own kind of magic. You're talking angel magic, which is just that, it has its own realm. Angel magic, and a lot of the occultists actually don't go there. But the Goetia and the Lesser Keys of Solomon, it tells you, these binding spells with the devil that you want. You have to use an angel to bind them. You have to know the names of these angels, and therefore it's sort of angel speak, which, if you follow the ideal here, it's not heretical magic. It's congruent. It's consistent with what the Christian God, the idea of him, would want, because everything is done through his name and through his choir of angels. So, it's strange how much politics gets involved with religion and gets us to hate certain things that are actually canon and a part of the story, or at least make some sort of sense in a way that. But again, politics, they take control of the narrative, and it shapes what we believe. A lot of people don't understand these kind of things. A magic circle in the middle of a room is not inherently demonic. It's just there to trap spirits to commune with. Now, if you want to argue that entire process is heretical, well, when you pray at an altar to God, you're doing the same thing. Others would argue against that as well. But
you've got the whole point that, religion means, at least in Christianity, as I understand it,
yes,
acceptance. And this implies that there's all sorts of other aspects of nature that are supernatural. And a guy like D, you're right. He was definitely crossing all his T's, dotting all his I's. He was very orthodox. And I think he was a guy that was fascinated with the idea of magic. And remember, the thing today they call physics, they used to call magic. He was a brilliant mathematician for his time. People, his wizardry overshadows that. And he was known in college, as I recall, they were doing a play, and he had constructed a machine, some kind of a stage prop for a Deus Ex Machina to have a god descend or something from the heavens. And some of the people were apparently scared. It seemed like Matt, how he knows how to do all this stuff. So anyone just working with advanced mathematics was seen as possibly a wizard. And so this was his interest. So he saw himself, well, this is magic, but he wanted to be, integrated into his society. He was very much part of the establishment. He spent all of his time trying to do well at court, trying to fit in as a scholar, but also as an Elizabethan gentleman sort of deal. So yeah, he was definitely going to have the widest magic he could do. But yeah, you're right. You can declare the whole thing heretical, which is, obviously the mainstream churches went with. He was in a very ambiguous position. Yes. In his time, and depending on the country, he had to be careful of traveling to Catholic countries, and not just because he was an Anglican, but because of his wizardry, which was like right to the stake very often. Remember Bruno?
Well, I kind of think, okay, so let me tell you about my 5th grade experience. Okay, science class. Yeah, 5th grade, right? I remember this to this day. Some weirdo and a scientist, that they have the overcoat, the medical coat,
the lab coat,
yeah. So he's doing stuff with beakers and chemicals, and hey, isn't that cool, kids? I'm like, so couldn't they just hire a magician? Why are we looking at this? The science teacher got mad at me. I was like, science, magic. You gonna tell me that they're different? What? Explain it.
Well, they didn't make a difference, they called it natural magic. It's like, we mix these chemicals and we get gunpowder. That's natural magic.
Me saying that kept me out of the principal's office. Explain it. Explain it. Yeah. So, anyhow. But that kind of goes back to the whole, I don't want to say ancient aliens because I hate. There's a lot of implied history. There's a lot of theoretical history, which is a conspiracy doesn't make something not true. I understand that, but they're just so strong in their convictions. Just say it could possibly be, not it's aliens.
This is this is what we know.
It's not scientific to do that, because you're pushing a narrative, you're pushing a religion, and science can be a religion. Yes, a science, religion, magic, and come on, it's all within the realm of things that is built into whatever matrix to control us.